Be able to remove what the act is, which is the transportation, the recruitment, the harboring, and the receipt. Then we have the means. The means. What do they do to be able to recruit people? What means do they use to convince people? If you listen to the definition, it said the use of threat, coercion, abduction. Abduction means you are able to take somebody from somewhere and move the person somewhere. Fraud, deception, abuse of power or vulnerability. When somebody is vulnerable and the person is under someone that has power over that person. Most of our young girls are vulnerable, isn't it? Even the girls in the university, they are vulnerable before their lecturers. Because that lecturer feels this girl is vulnerable, let me take advantage of her. So abuse of position of vulnerability. Now the girl is vulnerable and that person knows this person is vulnerable. We have our girls and boys at the IDP camps. The mothers are vulnerable. And so someone can come in and say, because you don't have a place to stay, you are vulnerable, isn't it? Now you have a means of feeding your children. So somebody takes advantage of that vulnerability and tells you, can I help you with your children? And then the person traffics the children. Or giving payment or benefit of person in order to get control. They lure you with money to get control of you and to traffic you. Then the last part of that definition is the purpose. All these things I've been talking about, the act and the means, at the end, what do the human traffickers intend to do? What is their intention? Their intention is to exploit the person, which in this case is the human being. So the main purpose of human trafficking is exploitation. It could be exploitation of others for prostitution, sexual exploitation, labor exploitation, slavery or any other practices, or even removal of organs. The purpose of human trafficking, like I said, we have the sexual exploitation, forced prostitution. I don't know if anybody understand what forced prostitution is. You are not prostituting yourself, you are being forced to prostitute for another person. That is human trafficking. Child labor, which all of us, especially in Benue State, NAPTIP is experiencing a lot of issues of child labor. People moving people from the rural areas to the urban areas and taking advantage of them, forcing these children to do what is injurious to them, not even putting them in schools. Forced marriage is also happening in Benue State. My Lord Bishop, maybe one of the things people will be talking about is issues of forced marriage. Because in Benue State, you tell me that you can elope with a girl. So we see many of our young girls being forced into marriage. A man just abducts them and moves them into his home, and the next thing he tells you, that's my daughter. For us, that is taking advantage of somebody's vulnerability, and for us, that is human trafficking. Buying and selling of human beings. Also happening a lot in Benue State, because I have to be peculiar to this state, because this is where I'm working, and I'm seeing reports of people selling, young girls selling their own children, even their unborn children. And because, again, people know that these young girls are vulnerable. When they are pregnant, they tell them, don't abort the baby, I will help you. And then they get a buyer. Immediately she has the baby, they take the baby, give the girl some money, and sell the baby off to another, a buyer. And most times these buyers are even coming out from other states to buy. We have a recent case where a girl was, at the time when she had the baby, she fell in love with the baby, and she had agreed to give the baby out, but after having the baby, I think she fell in love with that baby and decided that she wasn't going to give the baby out. So she reported to NAPTIP. And the buyer came from Bayelsa to have 500,000 was transferred to the agent to get the baby and give the buyer. She came to pick the baby before we arrested her and the agent. Another case of sale of baby that we had was a girl that was moved to APIR State. She said that when she was about 8 months, they induced her. She gave birth to the baby. They took the baby. They gave her 100,000, and they gave the agent that took her to APIR State 100,000. and they came back. Well, the guy was arrested, and already he's even in prison because he's remanded in prison right now because we're in court. So sale of babies, sale of persons, even sale of persons that are not children, adults. Adults are being sold into slavery. A lot of our young boys are being taken away from here in the guise that they are going to give them jobs. And most of them, where they end up in slave-like conditions, and they are sold. I don't know whether you have seen a report in Libya where migrants, victims of human trafficking, are being auctioned like objects. You come, you select the ones you want, and you buy. Because in Libya, there's a lot of chaos, there's no central government, and a lot of separatist governments there where everybody is looking for control, and these people are being sold into slavery to serve one master or the other. And some of our children are there. A lot of Nigerians are part of them. And I will say some will be from Benue State. Recruitment of persons for use in armed conflict. People who are moved, trafficked to go and be used for terrorism. Boko Haram is there. You can never tell who and who has been taken and is used for armed conflict. Removal of organs. This is a recent one that NAPTI has discovered, which is the removal of organs. There is an individual that came back. I never knew that he was lured, he was assisted. Somebody told him, let's go abroad. He went abroad. He never knew his kidneys were removed. Part of his kidney was removed. He came back and he started falling sick. It was when he went to the hospital that they told him that one of his kidney was removed. But that person lured him abroad. They went to India. I'm sure he was sedated, so he never knew what happened. His kidney was removed, and he came back. So when people tell you they are assisting you, sometimes they are not assisting you. That's just one of the instances that has to do with removal of organs. Then sale or purchase of person, which I've explained. Street begging. A lot of our children that are on the streets here are moved from rural areas to urban areas to come and beg for someone. They are not begging for themselves. They are begging for someone. And somebody is using them to do business. And that is why sometimes I don't encourage people to give people money on the streets. Because I think we need to, as a civilized society, to take off these children away from the streets. Somebody is using those children. And those children are supposed to be in school, not to be on the street begging. Then it may amaze you that sometimes you hear somebody is being killed for rituals. Trafficking is involved in that. Somebody was abducted somewhere and is moved somewhere. Always remember the definition I gave you: transportation, harboring. And now these are the purposes for rituals. Ritual is also one of them. Domestic servitude. I would say most of us that are in this church today are also perpetrators of this. We have children in our homes who are below the age of 12, below the age of 18, because the Nigerian Constitution recognizes a child a child as someone that is under 18 years. And we know that we have people I know and I believe that there are many of us in this place, this church today, that have children under the age of 12 as domestic servitude. Why do we call it domestic servitude? They are not house help. You are overusing that child more than what the age of that child is. That's why we call it domestic. You subject that child to so much hardship that your children are not going through. The children sleep on the floor. For this, I would say a lot of us women are doing it. But we don't know. And sometimes I say, until you fall, your case comes inactive, then you will see that at least the government has done something to protect that child, because the law will catch up with you. I have a friend that recently, an old school girl, that fell into this, and she came to our office, and I was like, look at how beautiful you are, but look at what you are doing to this little girl. And we're educated people. What we will not do to our children, we do to other people's children. who are taking advantage of the vulnerability of that child. And some pretend or do it under the guise that I'm helping that child. Please don't help the child. Take the child back to the mother. What help are you giving that child that the child sleeps on the floor? What help are you giving that child that the child sleeps at 12 midnight? While your children go to bed, the child is walking. The first person that wakes up from that house is that child. Sometimes we use our leg to wake up the child. Can't wait. We use our legs. Do you know what psychological effect you've done to that child? Because that child will never grow up like a normal child that has grown up under love and care. But our children, sometimes we don't even shout at our children, but these children, at the very smallest provocation, get the biggest beating that not even adult can get. I don't know that any of you saw a video of a girl that was highly abused by, and the one who arrested that woman, she was her auntie, her sister's daughter. But that video went viral. Many other people saw it. We arrested the woman. That is using trafficking for domestic servitude. Then debt bondage. When I go on, you understand what debt bondage is. This mostly is for those, not even in Nigeria here. Recently, there was it in January or February, His Excellency assisted to repatriate about 13 boys that were trafficked to Lagos, and they were in labor exploitation. One of them was so tired, he was kept in the open. They were all kept in the open. They said they called the man Baba Lagos. He went to Vanica and picked them. There were about 13 of them. Some of them were from Ushongu, Vanica, and I think one from Ukun. They picked them, they took them to Lagos, and when they went there, they were to work in the factory, the plantain chips making factory, and they were kept in the open. They just dropped mattresses outside for them to sleep. They were giving food once a day. As they enter that factory, they don't come out, they eat once a day. One of them said, no, I can't do this anymore. So he ran out, he was complaining, then an NGO saw him, and that was how they were rescued. And we have some that when they go, the person will tell them, when they want to come back, the person says, you are not going back. I use money to bring you. So because I use money to bring you to this place, you must work to pay me before I will allow you go back. That's debt bondage. Because that person is using that weapon to control that person, to make the person stay there and work for them. That's trafficking for debt bondage. The recruitment is very deceitful, as the traffickers do not show the victim the color of trafficking. Most of them are lured by false promises. Some are escorted by relatives, while some are trapped out of sheer greed, knowing fully well the implication of their actions. As much as they know fully well the implication of their actions, some do not know the extent of the implication. Because there are adults. It will surprise you to know that Napti's oldest traffic victim was 75 years. So you'll be wondering, what is a 75-year-old woman? But she was trafficked out of the country because the person wanted her to go and use her as a house help and a nanny abroad. There are many control mechanisms that traffickers use. So by the time you are in their hands, you are in trouble because they want to have control of you. So they use intimidation, they use threats. Sometimes they are moving these girls through the desert, and because they want the girls to instill fear in them so that they don't run away, they might decide to rape one of them in front of the other girls. That is a sign that if you try anything, this will happen to you. And if they are boys, one can be killed to show the other ones that if you try escaping, this can happen to you. And I don't know if any of you also listened to a CNN documentary of a lady that disguised, she's a dark lady, I don't know if she's from Kenya, she's a reporter. She disguised and allowed herself to go to that trafficking process, and she said she actually witnessed a girl being raped along the line. So it was when they got to one point that she retreated, because at that time it was getting too dangerous. So she had to come out of it, and she made that documentary. It was on CNN. So they use intimidation, brutal violence, rape, emotional abuse, watching violence against others. That is, they do violence against another person for you to see. Threat, torture, murder of victims of their loved ones, or blackmail. Sometimes they tell you, if you escape, I'll kill your mother or your father. They use lies. Remember, in the definition we say lies and deception is used. This is used to achieve the cooperation of the victim and their families, usually involving false promises of employment, marriage, or scholarships. Debt bondage, I've explained to you what debt bondage is. Oath taking. We have not had that experience of oath taking in Benue, but in Benin, Anambra, Imo, we've had girls or boys before you're taken away, you undergo that oath taking. And that oath taking is for them to control you while you're over there. And you promise them that if I disobey, I will die, or my family will die, or I'll go mad. So they take you to a shrine, take any part of your body, your nails, pubic hair, armpit, anything. Some of the girls, they take their menstrual pad, they do all that they need to do under where the juju man is, and they tell the girls or the boys, if you try anything, your family or your mother or your father or you. Recently, just last month, a girl was brought back, rescued from Dubai, and she came to the shelter before we sent her home, and she kept telling me, I took oath. I'm so worried because I took oath before I went. I said, how did you escape? She said, I got tired because I will come back after I just finished sleeping with a man, and that day they were arranging me for another one. I got tired, and she seized my passport. So I ran. I met one other girl on the street where we were hustling, and me and the girl kept talking, and I said, we need to run. So that night I ran away. I met this girl, so we all ran to the Nigerian embassy, and from there. But I'm worried because I took oath. So you can see that even though she ran and she came back, she's still worried because some of them still believe that oath will have something on them. One of the actions NAPTI did under one of my director generals that has left was to, like, especially in Benin, she went to the Oba of Benin and she asked him to assist NAPTI, because some of them, even in Italy, abroad, Spain, even when they run to the authorities, they are scared of coming back. They are scared to talk so that they don't arrest them because they feel the oath will work. So what the Oba of Benin did was to call all the traditional rulers and all those their shrine owners and ask them to revoke all the oaths, and also place a cost on anyone that administered oath on any girl or anybody that was being used for trafficking. That helped NAPTIP a lot, because in Italy, some of them that we even saw videos started telling their madams, I'm not paying anymore, I'm free now. Because usually the debt is always so much. If they assist them in going, even if they buy a ticket of 200,000, everything 500, they tell them to pay like 10 million. Tell me how many men she's going to sleep with to give 10 million. So that's what we call and because the person is so naive that they don't even know that the visa does not cost you that much, the ticket doesn't cost you, but the madam will tell you, I did your visa, I bought your ticket, I transported you to Italy, I gave you accommodation, I'm feeding you, and everything amounts to 10 million. So you have to pay me. So you have to go out every night. It doesn't matter the amount of men you go out, but you have to go out every night to hustle so that you can pay that money. So that oath was a problem to most of them because that. And what I'm saying, even recently, and this girl, she's Idoma from Orokam also. She's Idoma here, a very young, pretty girl. What I told, because she even was begging me I should escort her to talk to her parents. And let's see, 'cause I was still going to pay a visit to the parents, because that day I had to send somebody with the driver to go with her. But I have to pay, because that whole thing is still, she still has it in her psyche that it will harm her. Then we have emotional abuse. They carry out emotional abuse on them, social isolation. They isolate them. Even when you're with them, they don't allow you go out and mingle with people, because you might talk. So you're under control. They've even changed their identity. When you're going, my name is Gloria. If I'm in traffic, by the time I move to Ghana, my name becomes Grace. And sometimes, even when I move from Ghana, if I'm able to move to Libya and to Italy, my name will even change to maybe Mary. So you see, when we bring them back, when they are rescued, sometimes, on the first day, they tell you they are Gloria. When they stay in the shelter for another 2 weeks, they start telling you, no, actually, my name is Grace. Then later they tell you, no, my name is Mary. So their identity is usually changed. And some traffickers are usually so vicious that they make marks on them. So what we call human trafficking as modern day slavery. Because those days we had slavery where you had people making marks on their goods. They had human goods. And even I know in Germany, even in Italy, there are some mafias that make marks on the girls. They have tattoos. So that they know this is my girl. So usually they stay on the street. So they know who their girl is. And, sometimes there's even rivalry between the mafias themselves controlling those girls. So they have to mark their girls that this is my own girl. And I'll bet you, I saw the video. One of my bosses went to Spain. And I'll bet you what you see is terrible. We call it prostitution, but what you see. There was a day in the headquarters, I was reading a transcript of a girl that was trafficked, because we were supposed to go and arrest the guy, the perpetrator in Edo. So I had to read this transcript. And what happened to that girl was that they were moved from Edo, 2 of them, and they were trafficked. The madams were there. And this woman would tell her to go out. And when she goes out, there was a guy that used to follow the girl, but the girl would not know. So that the guy watches her and knows how much she makes, how many men she slept with, the count. And it will amaze you that I was reading that script. I don't know when I started crying. The girl will stay by the road, and somebody will come with the car. So why we say this is so you can understand how grievous this trafficking thing is. Somebody will come with the car, stop. She's standing there with her skimpy dress, maybe just pant and bra. And all he does is to move her by the side, have sex with her right there, and goes back into his car. And this particular day, the person gave her, was it $90? And she hid the $90, and then another one came. So she didn't remit all. And the madam gave her the beating of her life that day. Because the person that followed her counted the number of men. So when she went back, she was trying to see if she could squeeze some dollars and keep and see how she can send it back to her mother. And when the woman discovered, she gave her the beating of her life. And still, she had to go back the next day. What happened later, this man that used to guide her, who used to follow her, later started taking advantage of her and also helping to protect her and helping her to save some money. So you can see how they live. Before she was able to escape, she was in the hands of the authorities when they sent us that document and asked us to help arrest her. So human trafficking is more than slavery, as far as I'm concerned. There are a number of factors that precipitate the trafficking of human beings, which include poverty. We know that there's a lot of poverty in the land, which is causing human trafficking, unemployment, illiteracy, and that's why I said I'm very opportune to speak to you, because when you get this message, you're going to help us to take the message out to ignorance, greed, parental neglect, which most of us here are parents, lack of opportunities, conflicts, and natural disasters. In Benue State now, we are having these Fulani herdsmen, And it is not, it will be an understatement to say that it is fueling human trafficking. It is over-fueling human trafficking. A lot of people are displaced. There was a lady that sent her child to, they sent those children to be sent to Ibadan and shared to people. So when we intercepted the children, we called the parents. And when the mother came to pick the child, that girl was just, it's a very, very little girl. And the mother said, that can I keep the child? I said, why? He said, like, you don't understand what is happening. I can't take this girl back. I'm from that side. Because of the Ghana issue, where we can even hardly look after ourselves. There's no security for us, not talk of our children. So you see where I say disaster, insecurity, conflict fuels human trafficking. People are ready. Now people are trooping Benue State. I was in Ikuravia to speak to them, and one of the district heads told me that the Igbos come with trucks to buy. And when they come, their boys, they'll pick their boys, and some of them girls, and move them. Yes. Because there's a lot of insecurity. And the children are thinking, I keep asking, they move them, you don't even know where you're going to. Some of them are working in cocoa farms in the east, in the west, I mean. And the man, the district head told me that sometimes these boys, when they go, they don't even get in touch with their parents. And sometimes they fall sick and die, and they call them to go and take the corpse. And the issue of working in the cocoa farms or the farms in the west, they tell them they'll pay them 10,000 naira a month. But the agreement is never written down. And I bet you, our T boys are that naive. If you tell an Igbo boy that, he will not just take it. But they just go. They say they're going to pay 10,000 naira a month. And you go there, and then the man tells you, no, you will work for 1 year, and I'll pay you at the end of the year. Who does that? And before, when he notices that the year is going to end, they'll lie and say that boy has stolen. And they move the boy to the authorities. He stole money from me. This is a boy that has left Vandikia, left Ukun, left Katinala. He's in Osun State, Ogun. Can he defend himself? And most of them, our boys, are not well educated. They're so ignorant. Because the man knows that this boy is that stupid, he will do that. And that's what happens to most of them. They hardly get their payments at the end of the day. They give them 1 meal a day. Or sometimes the man will say, I brought you, I transported you, I've been feeding you. So that 100,000, that 1,000, my 10,000 I said I will give you, I will not give you all. I will remove my money from all the expenses I've done. So you can see that it's exploitation. And I've been asking, why are our young boys moving to go and farm in the west and the east when we have our farmlands here? I know that some mothers have told me, I've been looking for boys to go and farm for me, and I can't get them. Why are you going to go and farm for 10,000 naira in a month? 31 days or 30 days, 10,000 naira. That means it's how much a day? And you're going to enter a whole cocoa farm that you don't know the beginning and the end. You don't know, you don't have closing time. You stay there, you sleep in a shackle inside that farm, and they give you one meal a day. The nature of human trafficking in Nigeria. In Nigeria, trafficking in person has both the local and the international dimension. Trafficking could be internal or external. Internally, people are trafficked from one state to another for domestic servitude, sexual exploitation, like I said, child labor, forced labor, street begging. Externally, Nigerians are trafficked or smuggled across international borders for forced labor, sexual exploitation, organ harvesting, drug trafficking, and arms smuggling. Other purposes may include arms smuggling and terrorism. They can also use it for terrorism. Trafficking of women and girls in Europe is mainly for commercial sex. The Italian Anti-Mafia Bureau estimates that there are more than 50,000 Nigerian women involved in prostitution in Italy alone, with varying numbers in other countries in Europe. These are statistics. Large number of Nigerian girls are held in sex slavery in some West African countries, in Benin, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, while in transit to the Sahara Desert to Europe. Now, just recently, we're having cases of girls from Aliede here, trafficked to Burkina Faso. Now I look at Nigeria and I look at Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, I don't think it's up to Lagos. But someone comes and tells you, let me take you to Burkina Faso. I'm going abroad. What is abroad about Burkina Faso? It's not even up to Lagos. Now, this particular case, this guy who lives in I think it's Igbo. He lives in Burkina Faso. Then some people told him, traffickers told him, can you get us girls? We'll give you 250,000 naira per girl. He transports himself back to Nigeria. I don't know what gave him the inclination to come, because maybe a lot of people have heard that Benue State has crisis. So he transported himself to Benue State. He said he landed, this is his confession, not mine. I landed in MAKURDI. I looked around. He doesn't know anybody in Benue State. I looked around. When I said, no, these ones, I can't fool them. He asked somebody, where is the nearest village? They told him Aliede. He left to Aliede, rented a hotel, stayed. The next day he came out, hung around, started talking to people. To cut the story short, he was able to recruit 2 girls. Carry them on bike to Otukpo, to Ogbola, for like that. They moved all the way to Burkina Faso. He got his 250,000 per girl. That's 500,000. He came back again, and to the same alley, they recruited 3. Went back. This time he came back. He had 6 of them. They were already gathered in Otukpo when NAPTI was called. Somebody tipped us. So we walked with the girls. We told the guy to tell the girls not to panic. Yes, we know that they're in a hotel, they're about to take off. But please, they shouldn't go ahead with the plan. They should work with us. So we worked with them. The guy came, and then we arrested him red-handed. He's with us up till now, and we're taking, the case has been charged to court. And we have been able to use him, because his wife is in Burkina Faso, to be able to rescue 2 of the girls. One of them that came back had stab wounds on her lap, and I asked her why, and her hands. She said when she got there, she refused to walk, which is prostitution. So the guy, to threaten her, one of the control men broke the bottle and stabbed her, insisted that she must go, and she said because she couldn't do it. I said, why? She said, I just couldn't do it. When I think about it, I just couldn't do it. Because they will tell her, this man has come, come and go. I just couldn't do it. So I was ready to die. They locked her up, they threatened her, you say you won't do it, you will stay here. Till at a time they sold her to another person that felt that maybe I can work on this girl. She still refused to. So this boy, this particular suspect, was able to help us to get the girl back. There's still 2 of them. One has agreed, because she was part of those she was part of the person, the boy. She worked with the boy to lure those other girls, and she has agreed to do the prostitution. But we're hoping to get her back. But the other one, they are threatening that if we don't take time, we're not going to see the girl. But the person spoke to my officer and said, if we keep calling this number, we will not see this girl again. And you know, it's not easy for Nigeria to go over to another country and go and arrest another person, unless you have those treaties, which we don't have in Burkina Faso. So we can't go into another country and go and arrest somebody or to rescue a girl. This has to do with international treaties. And one of them, the girl is in Libya. The mother has been crying from Aliede here. But when I was working in the headquarters, I actually thought our girls don't go out to that extent. But that's where they are going to now. Burkina Faso. There are some of them that went to Cotonou. From Boko, I think there were also 6 girls. And when they got there, They told them they were in when they got to Lagos, when they were moving them to Cotonou, the girls said when they were moving, they will doctor them, tell them when they ask you, say this is where we know where we are going to. But the police people will be asking you questions, so tell them you know where we are. So until they got to the border between Cotonou and Nigeria, it's just you cross one leg. Maybe they crossed the leg that side. Somebody came from there, picked them, and it was a Tiv boy and an Igbo boy that the mother lives. The mother is Tiv, his father is Igbo in Boku, that trafficked those 6 girls. So when they got there, the Igbo boy asked the Tiv boy, "Did you not tell them what they were coming to do?" The boy said no, because the boy told them they were going to work in Lagos in a shop. That's where the deception is. So they said when they got to Lagos, of course, very naive young girls, they've never been to Atogboko before. From there, he said, "We are going to where my shop is." They entered another vehicle they were going. Apparently, they were going to Cotonou. So when they got to that border, they handed them over to another person. That person and took them to. Of course, the long and the success. I call those one success stories. Is that they refused to do it, and they went out on the streets and they started shouting, and the police came and they were able to rescue them. They brought them, and the police arrested the boy. So those 2 boys have been prosecuted and sentenced to jail in Cotonou. They moved them and dropped them over to Nigerian border and gave them money to go. So they didn't know where to go to. It was there. I think they were confused because they didn't even have papers. The Nigerian police arrested them, took them to Naptip, and then they brought them back here. From Boku to Cotonou to go and prostitute. And these are done with our local boys here. I'm seeing a lot of these. Our young boys are used to traffic our girls. There's one that's still in our custody. He went to Adipo. He was picking them on the streets. You see on the street and say, the Tiv boy, you say, I'll go and give you a job. And then he told them to assemble in one home. They all assembled. He briefed them. The Igbo boy came with a bus and carried them. It was the road safety in Benin that arrested them, because we have trained road safety officers. When they see people going in group like that, they should intercept them. And when they started asking, and when you ask them questions, most of them don't know where they are going to. So those are the indicators of human trafficking. We know that these people are being trafficked. From there, they were moved to our Benin office. From there, they were transferred back here to Naptip. Then we were able to, and 2 of them were pregnant. One was pregnant. She didn't even know who pregnanted her, although she was pregnant. So I asked her, "You're pregnant and you're going to Benin to go and work as what?" They told them they'll go and be selling beer. So I said, "So we will be selling beer with the pregnancy or what?" The other one too was pregnant. Although she said she didn't know, but it's like her boyfriend knew, because her boyfriend kept telling her, "Don't go. There's something wrong with your body." But they were below 18. And 2 of them were 25 years and left their children and said they were going to go and sell beer in Benin. Tell me, there are no beer parlors in Benue State. So what? How much would they pay them to sell beer in Benin? And when I was reading, I told you, I said, some know the repercussion. Because some of them also have that inclination that when I go and start selling beer in that place, I might get one good man. And I'll make it. And I'll go with him. So some know, but they don't know that they'll be in total slavery. That's what they don't know. Now, with all this I've been talking about, what did Nigeria do? Nigeria was part of the countries that signed, one of the countries that signed the United Nations Convention protocol in Palermo. Nigeria was signatory in 2000, where the international community demonstrated a political will to answer a global challenge with a global response. Everybody came together in Palermo, in Italy, to say, let us enact a law that will criminalize this. Because there was no law criminalizing trafficking. So people were using people as they wanted. So Nigeria was at that convention and signed that. They signed were signatory to that. They signed, they rectified, they domesticated the Polymer Protocol in Nigeria by enacting the legislation which is establishing the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons to deal with this new form of slavery. The act was amended in 2005, repealed and reenacted as the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition Enforcement Administrative Act 2015. It is a comprehensive piece of legislation aimed at fighting trafficking in Nigeria. It is the law that sets up administrative mechanism which the National Agency for the Prevention of Trafficking is to administer and enforce the law. And I said it. Sometimes I smile a lot, but when you are involved in human trafficking, I don't smile. Because sometimes if you see people doing this, you don't believe they are the ones. They don't write the name of human traffickers on the forehead. But it's our duty after this to talk to people. Your child might be involved. There's this young boy that was beaten in Bayongu here. He was almost killed because we have sensitized people. And sometimes they might be unlucky. They almost killed them. I had to beg them, please give me the boys, let me prosecute them. And he's below 18. His sister is in Ibadan. What he does is the sister sends him money for transport. He lures these girls, and the transporter will come and pick the girls. Then he gets 10,000 naira to move them to Ibadan. From Ibadan, they are moved to Burkina Faso or to any other African country. It may interest you again to know that you can imagine Mali. If it was a PowerPoint, I will show you where these girls are. Mali has rebels. They have mining sites. One of my Director General, Julie Okadonli, went to Mali, a fact-finding mission to Mali. They were in batches with rappers on their, like that. These are Nigerian girls, thief girls were among. And the people that use them are these miners. When they come out of the mining site, they come with their dirty clothes like that. $10, $20. Sleep with them and go. And they're having control of them. So even when the DG was asking, one of them was the way she was looking at her, she knew this girl wanted her to save her. She said, do you want to go? She said she wants to, but she's scared. Because they are under control. And before they knew it, they saw some boys coming on bikes like that. So the security guy that went to them told them that they have to leave that place. Because it was a very dangerous place. But she insisted she wanted to go and see. So to even save those girls there are more than 5,000 of them there. She came back and started talking to the authorities. I think there was this report that the Malian authorities are trying to help Nigeria to repatriate some of the girls. So NAPTIP as an agency was set up to carry out this. We have 5 strategies we are using to help in tackling this menace. We call it the 5 P's: the policy, prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. NAPTIP is a one-stop agency. We prosecute, we rescue, we investigate, and we counsel and assist the victims. Some of these victims come back so battered that you can't leave them to go into the society like that. There are some that come back that their heads are, how will your head not be crazy when you have slept with 50 men a day? It's not a story. It's a reality. 50 men a day. How do you survive? The girl is in a state of she's no more where you think she is. So we have to keep counseling that particular girl. And actually, some of them, even with that, we had cases in NAPT, when you put them in a shelter, they start becoming, just like when you're withdrawing, I don't know, you're seeing a child withdraw from drugs. Because she's used to having that sex, so she has to continue having the sex. Her body says you have to do that. So when you take them out of it, it's another problem. So at NAPTIP, we have trained counselors, psychosocial, we give them psychosocial support, and we try to bring them back to normal state. The act has, you break this law, there are varying degrees of punishment ranging from 6 months imprisonment to 7 years imprisonment and fines from 100 to 1 million naira. In conclusion, Trafficking is clandestine in nature. It's not something you will just see and understand. It involves the movement of person from one place to another, usually poor rural areas, industrial urban areas. Trafficking flourishes in most of the border states in Nigeria because of the porous nature of our states. Trafficking, especially of women and girls, remains a major challenge to the global community. It constitutes threats to human and national security. It fuels other crimes like drugs, money laundering, and other ones. We need all of you. We need the church. We need our mothers, our Christian mothers, to speak out. Our values, we have to go back and reinforce what the values of a thief, especially, I keep talking about the thief because I'm a thief girl. When we're growing up, we never had this. We need to go back and join hands to fight this. Thank you all for listening.
As you have heard her, we will entertain just 2 questions because of time. So if you have a question, raise up your hand, and once I get 2, I stop. And if there is no, you save our time. Okay? 1. And 2. It's okay. So, Venerable, please, okay.
Your presentation. I really marvel on all what you are saying today. In fact, I don't know what to say, but I really appreciate you for this presentation. You mentioned something which I want you to please clarify us more. You say part of exploitation is authority. You mentioned this between us and the heads Fulani people, especially as regard to Benue, the Benue Valley. I want to state that, will you please advise us on how to go about this? Because when you mention government, you mention authority. And the authority are everything it takes. But what we are seeing, maybe we are seeing that maybe the government want to take this area for its own use, to exploit us on something that maybe we don't like. So I don't know how you can advise us on this area, sir. Thank you, man.
Then take the 2 at once so that she will answer.
I wish to thank you very much for this great presentation. Mine is on the aspect of hypnotization. When a particular child is brought to your office or your particular office, and you discover that that child has been hypnotized for the fact that she has passed through this particular people, I just want to ask what really can be done, even if it's discovered that the child is mad, or maybe has been possessed thereabout. What measures can be done? Because I've seen some measures I've written down, but I wish to ask what really can be done on that particular child that has been hypnotized. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. If I understood the first question, talking about insecurity. Well, when I talked about insecurity, I said insecurity is fueling human trafficking. Why? Because many people have been driven away from their farmlands. They don't have means of livelihood. And because of that, they're susceptible, they are vulnerable. Their children are vulnerable to trafficking. And that's why I was saying we need the government to work the government here is not just Benue State government. Security is for everybody. So everybody must come together to make sure that Nigerians have security. From the top, that's from the president to all that are involved, to make sure that our people have security, because lack of security is one of the factors that is fueling human trafficking. And in Benue State, you know that we're having issues with security. And it's something that bothers me a lot. Even the last time we spoke with the governor, we're talking about the issues of the IDPs. And you're interested to know that I have a case of someone that went to IDP camp and recruited 5 girls and a boy, took to Ilorin. And when they got there, when he came to the IDP camp, the mothers were very excited. The secretary was calling them, bring your children. They said there's job in Ilorin. And the mothers were giving, I think, 2,000. They were very happy. They prayed for their children, go well. But when they got to Ilorin, they took them to a hotel, gave them skimpy dresses. It's the account of their story, not mine. They gave them these small skimpy spaghetti top and bumper shorts and condoms and gave them one room and asked them that this is what they'll start doing. The girls were like, no, this is not what you told our parents at the camp. It was Daudu camp here. They said, no, this is not. They even told them that if it's a normal person, 500, if it's Fulani man,